All right, if you've got like 10 minutes and you've got a fence picket, here's something you can do. Make a few of these. Super easy, quick project. I made 2 of these out of fence picket and I still have material left over. So could probably get 3, so what, $1 a piece for these things. Super quick video, let's make some. All right, so I just set my table saw to 2 inches. And I'm gonna rip a strip. So I got a busted board here. I'm just gonna kind of rip off that side when I do my 2 inches here. All right, so a standard picket is about 5.5 to 6 inches. I've ripped off my 2-inch strip. I'm gonna need both pieces here. That's kind of what a miter saw. All right, so what I did here is I just set my saw to 30 degrees. Now I'm working with the bigger strip, not the 2-inch one, with whatever's left. In this case, it's about 2.5 inches. If you watch my tutorial on how to build those other Christmas trees that kind of everybody was making, I try to make these in a way where it's not like measure this exactly to this, and then people run into problems if they're off the littlest bit. So we're gonna do it a simple way where we're not really doing any more measuring here as far as these cuts go. I'm just gonna go to the end. You see, I'm gonna set myself up. I'm gonna cut a 30-degree angle on the end, right here. Piece of scrap in there. And then what I'm gonna do is just flip this board over, and I'm gonna line it up to the point again. All right, so you can see that shadow right there. Okay, so there is the top of my tree. So now what I'm gonna do, try to make this is visible. I'm gonna kind of bring the camera down here. I'm putting this piece over that, and I'm kind of looking at it. I'm getting it where I like the overhang. So I like something like that. So I'm looking at how big that is, and I'm just gonna kind of come over here and mark that same distance. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is cut out that way. So I'll actually make this mark, it's there, or kind of run it down the side a little. And I know it's right there. So now when I bring this over and I do my cut, try and do this with one hand here, you can see I'm gonna get it on that line. So I'm gonna kind of move you back over here and I'll make the cut. If my camera doesn't fall over. All right, line it up, make the cut. Now what you see is, boom, boom. Now, all I'm gonna do is the same thing, but with this piece. So I'm gonna give it that little bit of overhang. I'm gonna move over here. Okay, I'm in, let's say 1/2 inch. I'm gonna mark around that same spot. And again, I kind of need to do it back on the other side. So you could always kind of, flip it around and do it this way. That'd probably make a lot more sense, actually. Then you have to mark it once. And I'm gonna make that cut. So now, I have my base. I have the piece that goes over the base. And then I have my top. And you could even make a bigger tree. I could take this one, so I got plenty of wood left here. And I could say, hey, let me make a bigger one. Or, what I personally would do is I would start again. And I would make my top. Again, no measurements needed here. And I would just do the same thing. I'll take my own advice here. Mark it, make the cut. Flip it, mark it, make the cut. There you go, flip it, mark it, make the cut. That's the lesson here. All right, so So I just made 2 of those, all right? Same thing though, boom, boom, and boom. And I've probably got enough left here where I can make, I'd say 1 more. I think I can get more than that. So I could realistically get 3 of these things out of 1 fence picket. Now, you have a choice here, and we're gonna head over to the table and talk about that. If you're enjoying this tutorial, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get back to it. All right, so we have an option here. I can very simply put some glue on there, put that there, put some glue on there, put that there, and say, hey, look, I made a tree. And I could call it a day. What I like to do with these is make them into a little candle holder, all right? So that means I'm gonna put a little tab here. Now, typical tea lights are 1.5 inches. So you just need 1.5 inch drill bit if you wanna do this. You could do it without even putting a hole in it though, honestly. You could put a little piece of wood on the front and just set the candle on it, and that's fine. What I typically do is I put the little groove in it for it to sit in. So I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so I mentioned that some people may want to do the pocket hole here to put your candle in. So if that's what you want to do, I have a 1.5 inch Forstner bit here. I'm gonna loosen my table up, bring this all the way down, and I'm gonna go not super far in for me. I mean, you have personal choice here. It's all about how deep you want it to go. I'm gonna go maybe 1/3 of the way through the board or so, something like that. Lock my table. And I'm gonna kinda eye it here. I like to kinda look at it this way, make sure I'm centered. And again, you can measure, but for what we're doing here, I'm perfectly fine with eyeballing it. And I'm just gonna go down here. That's all I really need. So now I'll take this over and I will cut it off because I have some room to hold it now. I can set it on there. I'm not trying to work with that tiny little bit. So let's go do that. All right, so when I cut this, basically whatever overhang I have on this side, I'm gonna try and match that on this side. I'm gonna kinda like that. Now I can take that and put it on the tree. All right, so assembly is pretty basic here. I'm just gonna flip up these 2 pieces, put a little glue on the top. And I'm just gonna spread it out. I don't want too much coming off the edges there. Got a little wet paper towel over here. And I'm gonna drop it, kind of lining it up however I want it, making sure my overhang is pretty consistent there. Bringing that one down. And then I just like to use one of these clamps right here, nice and simple. And these are nice because if you look, there is a line down the middle there. So that kind of sits nicely on the point. And I'm just going to clamp that. Now you don't want to over clamp it, because if you over clamp it, the pieces will start to bow. And you'll notice, as soon as I clamped it, squeezed it, some glue started coming up. So again, wet paper towel, especially if you don't plan on sanding this. I kind of like the natural cedar look here. So wet paper towel, clean up the excess glue, kind of hit the back real quick. Just get any spots there's some glue oozing out. Make sure it's nice and flat. Yeah, loosen that for a second, retighten, boom. Right there. So we just let that dry. Now for the last piece, if you're putting the candle on it, and this is gonna help it stand up, I'll just put a little glue on here. And I'm gonna put that right down at the bottom here. Kind of make sure you're in the center. You can measure it. I kind of eyeball it. But boom. And if you want to, you can put a clamp on there, clamp it down. What I typically do is I'll just let it dry like that. And then once it's dry, I'll take 2 brad nails, pop them in through the back, and you have yourself a beautiful Christmas tree. So here I glued these ones up before. These are dry. So just showing you one way you can attach it here. I'm gonna go with this end. Put a little bit of glue on there. find my center. A little bit that way. You know what? I just had to change a heart because I'm looking at this piece, and with the way that it looks here, how I kept this natural, 3 of these sides are cut. 1 still has that natural look. Let's go with the natural side out. That's gonna look the nicest. Sometimes you make adaptations on the fly here. All right, I center that. And again, I could clamp this right now, or let me get rid of that glue. I could put in some brad nails. That's what I'll do. And I'm just gonna bring this over to the edge of the table so I can get my nail gun in there nicely. I'm gonna pop in 2 nails. Boom, there you go. All right, so pretty simple build. And then personally, I like to use the electric ones here. It's a nice little gift. Again, and you don't have to do the countersink. Showed both versions of that. All right, so as you can see, I can use it with the pocket. I can use it without the pocket. If you don't have 1.5 inch Forstner bit, you don't want to deal with that, it's fine. You're setting a tea light on there. But I think they look pretty cool. Nice, simple build, super easy, super quick. Great thing if you have a little bit of scrap wood lying around, or like I did, a fence picket.